Hi everyone, so in this video we're going to be talking about the integumentary system and one part of it, which is the skin. We're going to get into the structure of the skin, like the 3 layers of it. We're going to get into what actually causes like freckles and other skin appearances, and we're going to get into the aging of the skin. Also, this channel is part of a nonprofit organization called One World, One Nation, where we strive to provide an extended learning platform for children who might not have access to it or are just looking for more learning and to express their curiosity. So please subscribe to this channel, and you can find more information on our website, which I'll put in the description box below. Thank you. This is what the integumentary system looks like. When I say integumentary system, this is comprised of basically your whole outer appearance, including your skin, nails, hair, and other glands. The skin is what we see as the biggest part of this system, and this is the diagram of what your skin actually looks like. When people think of skin, they usually picture fat or some thin layer over your body, but the skin is very important, and there is actually a lot going on in the skin. In fact, the fat does not actually start until the bottom layer of the skin, so all the rest is the actual skin. Now again, there is a lot going on in this diagram, and each part plays a unique purpose that helps us, from keeping us cool in the summer to making sure that we do not get sick. One of the most obvious functions of the skin is to cover our body, but it also serves many other functions, such as protecting us from outside invaders like bacteria, and insulating the skin, and also protecting deeper organs inside of our body, as well as blood storage, sensory, protecting from heat damage such as UV radiation or sunlight radiation, and it provides structure to our body. There are specific units in the skin that allow for each of these functions. So let's take a closer look at the structure and purposes of all the units of the skin. So the skin is essentially divided into 3 parts: the epidermis, the dermis, and the hypodermis, also called the subcutaneous layer. So let's first take a look at the epidermis. This layer is the uppermost layer and is only about the depth of a piece of paper. It is made of cells called stratified squamous epithelial, which are basically tiny stretched cells that have nucleuses that are layered upon each other. The epidermis is further broken down into 4 or 5 sections based upon where it is found in your body. The first layer is the stratum corneum. This layer is about 20 to 30 cell layers thick, and is really the only part of the skin that is visible. It acts as a barrier for outside invaders and acts as a water barrier. It is composed of dead cells of keratin, which is the main protein found in the skin, and is hard and very fibrous. The next layer of the epidermis is the stratum lucidum, which has a clear layer of cells. Skin with this layer is only found in a couple of places, such as the palms of your hands and the soles of your feet, and is known as thick skin because it has this extra layer of the epidermis. Every other part of the body does not have this layer, having 4 layers, and in these places it is called thin skin. So everywhere except for the palms of your hand and the soles for your feet, it's thin skin. So after the stratum lucidum is the stratum granulosum. The stratum granulosum is where the cells are found that are beginning to die. Also, it is this layer that allows your skin to waterproof because it contains something called lamellar granules. Lamellar granules are made from the keratin that is found in the skin, and it creates a substance that creates a barrier against water. After the stratum granulosum is the stratum spinosum. This layer has cells that are new and not about to die, and even has some cells that are able to perform mitosis, which means that they're able to reproduce. Further, this layer is also majorly responsible for giving the skin its structure and flexibility because it has web projections that keep the cell tightly packed together. Finally is the stratum basale layer. This layer is where new cells are formed, and these new cells are pushed upward to the next layers where they perform different functions until they die at the stratum corneum, the very top layer. Also, the stratum basale is different in that it does not have layers, but it is a single layer of cuboidal keratinocytes, not stratified epithelial. So these cells at the very bottom appear bigger because they're an important function of creating new cells for your skin. The cells on the stratum corneum are always shutting off, or the cells on the very top layer, are always shedding off of your body. So this is why the stratum basale needs to continually provide more cells and create more cells. Also present in the stratum basale are some cells called Merkel cells. These basically give you your sense of touch and movement. Also, there are some melanocytes seen in the epidermis of the skin as well, and these give your skin color. The dermis is the second layer. The dermis is the second layer of the skin. This is much bigger than the epidermis and has many units, glands, and structures present. The dermis is also broken down into two further divisions, the papillary layer and the reticular layer. So the papillary layer is just the skinny purple layer you see, and it also includes these weird purple squiggles. What is this wavy line in the skin? Well, this is called the dermal papillae, and is what forms your fingerprints. Also, the papillary layer is made up of areolar connective tissue, which is also has some collagen fibers. And these collagen fibers provide you with structure for your skin. The next layer of the dermis is the reticular layer, so this is really the bulk of the skin and has all of these structures included inside of it. So first of all, the dermis is comprised of dense irregular connective tissue and also has collagen fibers as well as elastic fibers. This means that basically your dermis is very strong and it's also really flexible. As for the parts of the integumentary system, one of the most obvious structures present is the hair and hair follicle. The hair follicle's presence in the dermis gives it nutrients so that it can allow the hair to actually grow. Along the long structure extending out of the hair root is known as a muscle called the erector pillae muscle. So basically when your skin gets cold or when you're frightened, this muscle actually contracts or tenses, and it causes the hair to straighten, and this is actually what causes your goosebumps. There's also these large bumpy structures in the hair. These are called sebaceous glands or oil glands, and they secrete a substance called sebum, which is like a fatty, oily substance. It's not sweat, but it just makes your hair oily when you don't wash it for too many days. Basically, the main purpose is to lubricate your hair and make sure it's soft. The structures that allow sweat are called the sudoriferous glands. There are two kinds of sudoriferous glands, the eccrine gland and the apocrine gland. The eccrine glands are found everywhere in your body, and there are millions of them found. The apocrine glands, on the other hand, usually just appear during puberty and are found in the axillary layers and armpits. Other units present are touch receptors. One of the touch receptors are Meissner's corpuscles that are found at the top of the dermis and detect touch, light touch. Another receptor is the free nerve ending, also at the top of the dermis, and this basically senses your pain. The last receptor we'll talk about is the Pacinian corpuscles, and these are basically pressure, and they're deep pressure receptors. Finally are the veins and arteries at the bottom of the dermis that carries blood and nutrients to all of your skin. The hypodermis lies below all of the skin and is thus known as the subcutaneous layer, because cutaneous means relating to the skin and sub means under. This layer is composed of areolar tissue and adipose tissue, which is basically means that it's responsible for storing fat and insulating the body. Now there are many conditions that occur regarding how the skin looks and the color of the skin. One of these conditions is erythema, which is an inflammation of the capillaries due to a number of reasons such as allergies, blushing, or injury to the skin. Another condition is cyanotic, which is when the skin basically turns a bluish color because the hemoglobin in the blood, which is hemoglobin is something in the blood in the body and is not getting enough oxygen, and because this can be caused because a person stops breathing or the blood circulation is cut off. If the skin turns kind of a yellowish color, this is a result of a buildup of a yellow pigment, and it indicates liver disease, and this disease is called jaundice. If the skin is overly pale because of low blood pressure or because of illness, this condition is known as pallor. And another kind of coloring of the skin is overly bronzing, kind of looks like it's tanned, but this is actually caused by a disease known as Addison's disease. Finally, there's also a case known as albinism. Remember when I talked about melanocytes and how they provide color to your skin? Well, basically, albinism is when a person cannot produce melanin from the melanocytes, and so there's no color to their skin. Some other features of the skin are freckles. Freckles are basically just an accumulation or like a grouping of the melanin or melanocytes in certain spots, and that's what actually causes the skin to appear a darker shade of like brown in those areas. Another feature are moles. Moles are basically just elevated patch of melanin and are beauty marks. So now we're going to get into the aging of the skin. As people age, the skin obviously does change. One of the most known changes that occurs is the wrinkling of the skin. This is basically just a loss of the collagen and elastic fibers that we've talked about in the dermis, so the skin cannot keep its plump and stiff structure. Also, the skin wrinkles because of the flattening of fat in the hypodermis. Another change that is present is activity in the skin is basically declining. So this includes like activity of glands such as the sweat and oil glands, and the decreased activity of hair follicles, with many of the hair follicles actually dying, and so you're actually losing some hair. There's also decreased activity of the immune system and sensory cells that are in the skin. So that was it for this video. I hope you guys learned a lot about the skin, its structure, and some cool facts such as how your goosebumps are formed and freckles too. So here are some citations I used for this video. And here are a couple of other citations I used for the pictures of this video. And again, this channel is part of a nonprofit organization called One World, One Nation. And if you'd like to support our initiative, please subscribe down below and also like this video. And if you have any comments or questions, then you can also comment them down below. And that's it for this video. Thanks. Bye.